I'd like to welcome everyone to the Lunch and Learn. We are working on presenting more of these for sure. So watch the announcements and things like that. I'd like to introduce Tony Reinke. I've known Tony for a long time. He's helped out with our students, and we've been on in different organizations together. He has a ton of experience. And with every direction. So I'm going to turn it over to Tony. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah, welcome. We'll just go right into it. Okay. Side buttons. No, that's fine.
Down, right? Down.
Down. Oh, okay. And almost needed to put a support ticket in. So this talk is jokingly the double life of a data hero. My day-to-day job, is cybersecurity, but I take a lot of what I do outside of cybersecurity to do different things. So we're going to go over quickly who I am, the how I got here type of story, and then we're going to do this in either the Greek tragedy style or comic book style, where we're going to start with my origin, what changed me with data, and then some of the projects where I call donning the mask. So real quick. All right, no worries. All right, so currently I'm an IT security architect for Children's Hospital up in Omaha. So we do everything from review logs to the phishing campaigns to looking at firewall configurations to, if an application wants to come in our O365 tenant, we have to review it. Our team is pretty vast, very knowledgeable on what the different applications are. But we go way back. When I first started getting into IT, it was right before Y2K. So I worked for a telecom company and came in. The original job that I signed on for was converting Windows 95 machines to Windows NT. So they were more corporate. Boss left, I had to slide in and start learning Active Directory and Exchange and all the terminal emulation softwares that we used for the mainframe to do long distance billing and access codes. So that kind of started my whole trajectory of system engineering, which I did for about 25 years before I switched into IT security. I always had that little tinge of being called in for security. I was really good at looking at data and finding patterns. So I kept getting brought in for security events. For the last 4 years, I've been an assistant head coach for a track team here in town. Our athletes are from 5 to 18 years old. Huge range, how you have to handle an 8-year-old that fell down while running the 100 versus an 18-year-old trying to do a new PR in the 2-mile. So you have to be able to shift from there. For the last 12 years, I've also been an assistant football coach for the youth program, firefighters and Union Bank for those that have played. So that that's a lot of the story is going to be focused on the football there and track. Of course, all things data I love. My origin. Pretend that's me. I had hair back in the day. I was a wrestler. That was my primary sport. I was football, wrestling, track. Football, I'd gain. Okay. I'd go for football. I'd go up to about 195. I wrestled at 160. I certified my weight at 152 pounds.
You were tiny.
I know it doesn't look like it, right?
Oh no, I mean for that big of a for football is what I was talking about. Wrestling, I could live.
Football, I was a fullback and weak side backer. Until senior year, I got moved to rush defensive edge, and halfway through senior year, I got moved to an I-back position because I started my cut for wrestling. So got a little slimmer, a little faster. But again, with my focus being wrestling, that was my main sport. That was the one that I got to excel in. So those that have wrestled, I know, a couple guys in here. You have to look at every single instance on how they set up. So certain schools, like Lincoln East, when I was in school, they were known for their Granbys. That was the move that you always knew they were going to hit. Southeast, they were the tie-ups and the throws. They were the power school. I was Pius. We were shooting. We would go from long distance shots and slide bys and stuff like that. But my opponents, I would have to analyze frame by frame what was going on to try to get that little advantage. So if we look at this right here, can you guys spot the differences? There's two main differences in these images.
Are the your
Don't worry about that. This is all AI generated. Look at the body.
We're looking at stance then?
Yeah, look at their stance.
Oh.
Go ahead.
One arm is slightly higher than the other,
Yep.
and also for appearances, the line that's right there is slightly higher up there.
Okay.
That's just what I'm figuring out.
Are both
So,
the
yeah.
screens the same?
What's that?
Are both those screens like mirroring each other?
As close as I could get AI to do it.
Okay.
So if we actually want to look, the two things that jumped out at me when AI did this, you nailed the first one, the arm. So let's set this up. This person is a great duck under or toss. So when they move their foot under, they shorten up their base, they tuck their elbow, they're getting ready to get it in and under. But it's wrestling. So I have to be able to identify this in a third of a second, because he's about to make that move. So in high school wrestling, we got to learn those little patterns. No idea that this was going to be part of my job later, of finding that one little detail super fast in a mountain of data.
You had to be ready for like a split second
Yep.
one tackle
Yep.
takedown.
So all week I would have my opponent that I'm drilling with do these type of setups to get it, so I'm going over and over. Same thing with football. We all played Friday night. Almost every school did film analysis Saturday morning. You would go in and did any of us in high school actually pay attention to the patterns? We were usually goofing around, looking for that highlight reel. But once you actually start to get in there and start looking, you're actually analyzing data patterns without knowing it.
I would pay very close attention to the highlight reels, especially when it comes to college and professional football, because you can really start to translate that into high school football and actually start winning games.
Yeah. So you nailed the point. All this analytics is what is now winning games. But this was me. This is the 90s. There was no huddle. There was no nothing like that. We had one coach that had every play memorized and knew every school's tendencies from the 80s. It was amazing because we could literally just go, hey, coach, what do they typically do when there's, oh, Beatrice, they run the I formation. They do this, this, and this, and this is their formations. Here's their patterns.
Could you explain the I formation?
I formation is you have a quarterback under center, a fullback directly below them or behind them, and then a tailback behind them, so it looks like a straight eye.
Okay. I did not know that. That was the one formation I did not know.
It's not run very much anymore. The fullback's kind of fallen away.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Go to Indiana.
They were to still run it.
Say, there used to be a team in Nebraska that would run the Maryland eye. So 2 fullbacks and an eye back. So
What is that?
it's an I formation, but you add an extra fullback, so you have 3 in the backfield.
Well, that's
2 fullbacks and a running back. So again, all this was high school. This was, I didn't really know what I was getting into. And I definitely didn't know this was data analytics. So we get into coaching. Me a little slimmer back then, 13's my oldest. Everything we did for this group, this is rookies, so mainly fourth and fifth graders. We went back to the X's and O's. Tried and true, this is what I knew, this is what I grew up with. This application is called Watch Game Film, or Go Army Edge. The Army's great at, statistical planning and field operations. So instead of battle regiments, they have it for soccer and for football, where you can do plays and hit go and they all move. And, we're talking football. So obviously I'm doing a fullback trap because one of the greatest plays ever. So I started teaching the same style that I was taught. We were a 500 team. They did good, not great. They didn't actually get to understand the system. Go forward to my youngest. So this was, this was a year ago, last year's game, Union Bank versus Police. The difference of just X's and O's to full analytics of what's going on for each play. See, I form, we were running a sweep right. I can see it was first down and 10. We were on the 34. We gained 7 yards. So it actually let me really get into the details. Who's heard of Huddle here? You realize it was born here, right? It's a Lincoln company. It grew out of the Callahan program wanting to do statistical analysis on video film. It was a graduate level project that is now a I think they're $1 billion company now. Phenomenal way to use research and data. So I can use the same thing that they're using and look at all my patterns. So in this game, tight, close game, it was phenomenal. We had 112 plays between the two teams. 42 offense that I had, they had 43, 27 special teams, lots of punting. There's a lot of, it was a defensive game. But special teams also, the field goals, the kickoffs, anything like that. But we can actually break down all the details. And again, I'm taking the sim, this is the sim tool that I use at work. Put it in my lab at home, and now I can run analytics off of it. So I can see real quick, how many pass plays, how many run plays. Pretty down the line. 23 and 19. I'll take that. Like a little more run, but that's me as a line coach.
My favorite statistic right here is the D run play. 25.
Yep.
They had a lot of offensive run plays.
Yep. So here looking back, we look at the film and I can see that I couldn't overload a package. I couldn't put in my heavy package to stop the run because they were a little more run focused, but it was still pretty even, which is great. Looking back on a game, you get to see what you did and what you didn't do. But the way that the Lincoln program does their playoff system, top 4 teams go into a playoff. So now I have all this data from the previous game that we just played. So I can start looking at how many, the first down runs, passes, and percentages. So I would actually have a cheat sheet on the sideline. This is for us, but same thing for the defense. I can see their statistics. It's first down, 75% of the time they pass. It's second down, and we could even break this down, like second down, and show me the plays that are 1 to 3 yards that they need to gain. I can break it down and I can just look real quick. If you look at NFL games, college games, high school games even now, everybody's got a tablet on the sidelines. This is what they're looking at. They're looking at the previous plays. Their ADs and defensive coordinators are looking at the statistics. Are they running cover 1, cover 3, mixed cover? You know, they got this wide receiver they got on man coverage, everybody else is sitting in zone. Okay, what does that mean for the quarterback? He's got one-on-one coverage, so if he can break free, he's got the zone. Otherwise, we're gonna have to play soft and hit in spots. So, you know, you might look at this, and this might be, you know, in my day-to-day job, this is my Nessus scan. All the vulnerabilities. Similar to here, I can look at the vulnerabilities of the defense and the offense through the data analysis. Some of you guys heard me talk track earlier. The youngest here, track's a data goldmine. All it is data. So everybody's generating their events. Well, the problem is what happens during the season. How many medals do you think are given out in any contest? 3. First, second, or third. In this meet alone, for 6 and unders, there was 14 people that competed. In the 100, that means top 8 go to finals. So the top 8 of the 14 will run again, but only 3 of those get a medal. Well, that's a 6-year-old. After 4 or 5 meets of not getting a medal or a ribbon, their spirit gets a little crushed. So what we can do is, you know, before we would say, oh, but you're doing better, you're doing great, it's, you know, you're having fun, right? And they'd be like, yeah, I'm doing all the running at practice, but I'm not getting a medal yet. Okay, but look, your times are getting better. So we can take all our data and actually analyze it from the meet. I have to report to a board as the assistant head coach. I have to let the board know what's going on. So I was already doing Excel spreadsheets. It stunk. It was not fun pulling that into Excel, trying to make the graphs. So again, I threw it into my sim tool here. So I can immediately see year over year. I can change, like this one I'm doing this year's guys versus girls in our club. We're pretty heavy on the girls this year. Okay. When we go and talk to the schools next year, make sure to make more mention for the boys. I can also look at what age groups, what events they're doing. Okay, so here we can see the 100 meters and 100, 200, and long jump are our top 3. Well, I need to make sure I have coaches to be able to coach those events. For the first 3 years, I was the long jump coach, even though I'd never done it before. I quickly learned it because that was the need we had. And we can, you know, pull this data. Well, I'm already giving this to the board. What can I do with it besides this? I can show the athletes what they're doing week over week. Olivia right here is a great example. Something happened. I was there, but something happened to where she ran almost a 3-minute 100 meter dash. I think there was something issue with the timing, but we could start to correct that. But then you look week over week, she went down to 18 seconds, 17.9, 17.3. So now, even though she's not placing in the top 3, we can show her your time's going down, you're getting lower, it's getting better, to where they're not so concerned. And for our club, since I have the data, I can see, created a 3D print medal, like the old school Flavor Flav clocks, with a big old, 80s chain that they got to wear and put on, and they got picture taken, put it on social media of, hey, I broke my personal best. So for her, it wasn't too hard. She had a 174.5. So the week 2 of her running the 100, she got a PR breaker. So she got to wear the medal. She got that encouragement, that positivity. Well, then she broke it again. So now she's 2 weeks back to back getting to wear that, getting that medal. So it steamrolls, even though we're not getting first, second, or third, we're getting that validation that I'm doing better. I can see the data, and it really helps with parents that they see that the time and investment they're putting in for their kids they're getting rewards. So when kids get done with practice, it's not, oh, practice was so hard. Like, oh, but you're getting better, right? Yeah. So we actually saw a lot of improvement of attitudes of all of our athletes week over week. Again, we have, 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds. So the high school students, we didn't have as much coaching. They would look at the data, they would understand, they would see what's going on. And we could also show this is, practices that you've been coming to, practices you haven't, how is that affecting your times?
Confidence is slowly going up every time she breaks that record.
Yep. So every time they broke the record, they got to wear that medal and get that post.
I hope Olivia makes it to the Olympics.
She did very well. So for club track, there is regionals and nationals, and we had, I think, 5 athletes actually go and compete in the nationals. Savannah, Georgia, in the summer, it was awesome. Nothing like 95-degree weather with 80% humidity while you're trying to run. But no, I mean, the kids don't know this. They're doing data analysis. They don't see that, but they see I'm getting better. I'm getting faster, or I'm throwing the shot farther. We even do javelin in club. They don't do it in high school, but we do it in club. A lot modified. It's a big rubber edge on the ball that you throw until you get to the 13, 14. Then you get into the metal javelins. But the
Then you actually upgrade to the actual javelin.
Right. So, in club, it's your typical 100, 200, 400, 800, 1500, 3000. And then long jump, triple jump, pole vault, shot put discus, javelin,
jump?
and hammer throw, and steeplechase.
No high jump yet?
There's high jump. Yep. Did I forget that one? I'm sorry. Yep. Can't forget that one. That's fun. We had a kid that was 5'8", jump 6'8".
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's here and he's jumping a bar up here. It was phenomenal. I understand all the biomechanics of it. Still don't understand how he's doing it. But it was great. He was one of our athletes that went to nationals.
Who is one of your top competitors in pole vault?
In pole vault, we had a couple, Malachi Peoples would probably be our top athlete. He went to Southeast and then came after high school season and competed for us.
How high do you get?
He was 14 feet something. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel like after this, he should get trained going on go do Qantas. I feel like after he gets done in club, he should get trained going on go do Qantas.
He's going to college on a pole vault scholarship.
Oh,
So he definitely gets to utilize his skills at the next level. So during the time. Okay. As we start looking at actual projects that I'm using, who's heard of the Raspberry Pi, right? Everybody knows that now.
Is it a Linux-based computer?
It's a little mini Linux-based microcomputer. I think they have 6 of them 5 or 6 of them in the lab that they're using for things. Well, there's a program called Pi-hole that you can put on there. So everybody knows DNS, right? Controls the internet. It has a here. There we go. No, you're good. So it can make all the fun pretty. I can look at all my DNS information, DHCP, DPAC, all the requests within the system. But it's big thing. Just a minute. When a user does a DNS request, it goes out to the Pi-hole. it has a known list that you can download of ad trackers, YouTube ads, whatever you want to block. It has that list. It checks the list that it's already downloaded. If it's on the list, it gives it zeros, an unroutable address. So basically denies that ad or that malicious site. I had boys at home. I had to block content. So I was using this to block the content to make sure things were not being gone to. Oh, along with the malicious ads. Drive-by downloads, those that are in PC support, that's going to be the bane of your existence. Someone just went to a site, there was an ad, had malicious payload in it, it downloads, notifier or something. Next thing you know, the screen's flashing that they have a virus and to call an 800 number.
Like literally, okay, of your existence.
So this is what this helps protect. Most corporate, that's built into your firewall. But at home, not so much. So if you set up a pie hole in conjunction with your wireless router to have the pie hole handle your DNS instead of the wireless router, you now have pseudo enterprise level protection at your house for a little microcomputer that's just sitting in the corner. Or if you're really nerdy like me, I have it as a VM on my test lab. Yes, I have a full test lab. My wife loves that sound of the server hum from the basement. It's a fun time. We'll talk more of the fun that she gets to have with me later.
Could you go back one slide?
So yeah, you wanted to see the pretties?
What's gravity locked?
So gravity is the system that the pie hole uses. That's that list. So if it's gravity blocked, it means it was on the list and the pie hole blocked that traffic.
I actually have that built into like Bitdefender.
Yep. So like,
Bitdefender is a whole hype saver for me.
oh yeah. So even here, it's telling me that
Apple iCloud.
one of my kids turned on the VPN on their Apple device. Great way to get around the pie hole, unless you know what you're doing and you put that in the list of don't allow the Apple VPN. And I love it. I love my kids. They push the boundaries. They constantly trying to find ways around, just like somebody would do, I don't know, a salesperson at a corporation. They're always testing you. So here, it's pretty simple. With the pie hole, since you nailed it, it's Linux. Just set up syslog. It'll pull the files, send it to your SIM, and now you have all that data from the pie hole. So from that, this is Graylog. Who's had the fun of using regex?
What?
Regular expressions.
Oh,
So we could have, if you want to extract the data of a digit /D, it says one number, 0 to 9. You can do space /S, not a space /uppercase S.
Like my least favorite thing to do.
So what's funny is there's a conference that I used to go to every year that there is a person whose nickname was Regex Guru. That's what he went by online. He filled the 150 person room packed. There was a wait list to get into to listen to him talk on regular expressions for an hour. So the next year, they gave him two sessions, packed. Both of them sold out.
both of them sold out.
Well,
Wow.
Grok is built off of regex. It's I call it next evolution, and this is what Graylog uses a lot. So instead of doing /W star, I can just say not space. Gives me digits, words, not space. This understands, syntax like syslog timestamp. So you're year, month, day, either space or capital T, hour, minute, seconds, time zone. I don't, instead of having to write all that out in regex, I can just simply just say syslog timestamp. So here we can build our extraction. And this essentially saying, look for the term DNS mask right here in somewhere in the message field. And that's going to be under my rule Brock base. I had to write all these different rules to handle the data coming in.
Yeah.
Because I even have it running my DHCP at my house. Again, my ISP loves me, my kids love me, you know, anybody that has to deal with the data at my house absolutely loves me. Because I tend to play too much.
I love the fact that instead of having you do after pattern, all of this typing, it's not space colon hooks,
Yep.
not space colon log system.
So and
It's
actually,
log
I
timestamp.
do the set field, you're actually saying this host here, that's text. Syslog timestamp is a timestamp format. DNS mask number,
Even
you'll do digit or long init to say, is it a full number or could it be a number dot digits to help with the information later when we're doing dashboarding and statistics. Because here we can see on that given day for one whole day, I'd blocked 2,134 DNS requests. And we can look at the actual data that was coming in. Microsoft Teams. Microsoft's is gonna be why you have a job and the bane of your job. They're great, but there's always things going on. So we have, Microsoft, CloudFront, and Google Ad Services were my top 5 blocks. You can see in here what's being blocked. I have that built out for each, what are the queries that are happening, what are the responses, and all the information from my DHCP. So if the kids add a new, they bring home a new iPad from school, I see a new DHCP request, new MAC address showed up on my network, it's flagged in my system. So I can see, did somebody jump on my Wi-Fi that I didn't know about? Which would be amazing that somebody guessed my password or found a way into my wireless. Not that it can't happen, but it'd be interesting. So I actually have, it doesn't show it here, I have alerts for that. So when a new MAC address shows up, it sends me a Slack message to a personal Slack instance that I have. So that I can see, hey, something just happened. It's usually when I'm building a new VM in my lab, I'll get just flooded with messages. I pretty much DDoS myself doing that.
like that pie hole is similar.
Yep.
It's just like, hey, okay, there's something new, send it to Slack, send it to you. Okay, I have something new. Most likely leave coding a VM, thing like that.
So the next use of data that I had in the real world at my house is that little device. I'm not a small man. I like things cold. My wife is not the same size as I am. So we were in watching a TV show and she just innocently looks over and goes, is it cold in here? I'm like, no, it's perfect. She's like, I think it's cold in here. I'm like, I'll check. Walk over to the thermostat and it was set to 72, whatever it was supposed to be. I'm like, no, everything's perfect. She's like, it's cold in here. So being a system engineer before, my dad actually sold monitoring devices for data centers for a while. So he had some Geist devices. This is a Watchdog 15. It has 2 probe entries that you can put in there. And this I put into the HVAC system. So I put one on the feed side and one on the return side. Why would I do both of those? Anybody know enough about HVAC systems?
So you can see what's happening at the back end and at the front end.
Right. So The feed side will be what's coming out of the blower motors, so either the coolant, the cooled air or the heated air. The return side is kind of what's coming from all the rooms, so it's a average of what the temperature is in the rooms. Well, that can actually tell me airflow, temperature, humidity, and dew point. So I can get a really good idea of what is going on in the house. So punched a couple holes in our HVAC system, threw the probes in there. The only problem is it only spoke SNMP. So I had to use another tool, pull the data in. This is Cribble. It lets me run Linux commands within the system and then send the data to wherever I wanted to. So every 30 seconds, it does a pull of all the devices. So you see here, I have internal temperatures, all the internal devices, because the watchdog device itself has a sensor in it, everything minus airflow. And then feed and return. So I have all the data now. So I can definitively say what's going on in the house. How many want to guess if I was right or wrong?
You were wrong.
I was wrong. This is from my house the other day. When that was going on, the average temperature that was coming from the rooms was 68 degrees. So it was chilly for her. We found the thermostat was in a bad spot. It was in a tight hallway, little airflow, so it always kind of had a higher temperature than it should. So we were able to get a guy out here who, when I showed him these dashboards, he about flipped out. An HVAC tech that could walk in and go, okay, I see the CFMs, I see the temperature, the humidity, what's going on in the entire house. He was like, he wanted to go through all the dashboards, look at how the system was set up. He was absolutely floored and loved it. But yeah, here you can see, the feed temp, the return temp, and what the room is. Yeah, my HVAC room is where my lab is, so it's a little warm at times. I run 3 servers to do all my VM and AI stuff. So, and you can see here, you can tell exactly when the airflow, when the fan blower motor turned on and kicked off. So we can actually see, is my blower motor working? Is it working efficiently? Because if the CFMs only go up 2 or 3 points, it's not actually blowing that much air. It should have a nice jump here. It was almost 20 points difference.
Those affecting, you said your servers are nearby the HVAC.
Right.
Were those affecting anything?
No,
Okay.
no. I have some air systems to push it into areas that aren't really used, so.
Are the servers blade servers or regular servers?
They're blades.
Nice.
So it's one massive 4U chassis with 4 blades in it. Again, it's got the nice fan noise that you can hear if the doors are open in that room. But again, here I could definitively prove she was right and we found the cause of having an incorrect placement of a thermostat.
Be like,
She loves the story. She loves that I keep telling the story. But, I didn't know. And anybody that's going to answer tickets, I think the internet's slow. I think my computer is slow. Feelings aren't facts. So here I went to prove that I was right and I was wrong. So, but I needed data. I needed to be able to prove it. Oh, good, 5 minutes for this one. And this probably is going to be the most fun story. Who in town thinks people speed? Everybody should put their hands up. Everybody speeds in Lincoln. The issue becomes on the side streets where people are walking, the families are showing up. Moved into a neighborhood that I happen to be in a triangle of schools. I have a high school to my west, a middle school to my north, and a grade school to my east. So I have parents flying through the neighborhood, dropping kids off, getting back to work. Well, this is back in 2018. And I thought people were going too fast, couldn't really tell. I actually bought one of those little Hot Wheel radar guns, just, that tell you how fast your Hot Wheel car was going. And I was checking people's speed every once in a while. A lot of the neighbors, we sat around talking, so we were doing that while we were talking. Well, being a nerd, I had a camera set up for monitoring my property anyways. I just changed the angle a little bit and I can now see the traffic going on the road. There was a company out of England that made software specifically for analyzing speed patterns. Line here, tell it it's 15 feet. When it crosses this line, we have our time divided by distance, miles per hour, kilometers per hour. So I started measuring all this data, and I would actually send a picture of that car speeding with a timestamp and the speed stamp to Twitter.
Which is now X.
It's now X. Well, it's great. I didn't really get a lot of traction. It was more making myself feel better. One of the neighbors goes, "You should tag the police department in it." Okay. Change the code a little bit. And I started tagging the police department every time somebody was going 10 miles an hour over. So 25 miles an hour, when they were doing 35 down the street, the police department got tagged. In this example, you can see the vehicle is traveling 40.4 miles per hour. The highest that I recorded somebody that was legitimate was 58 miles an hour on our street. Our street's only 3 blocks long before you have to make a turn.
In the school zone, is it 25?
It's a school neighbor, it's a neighborhood, so it's 25 anyways. So, and the 58 was a motorcycle with somebody on the back. I'd almost give it to him if there wasn't a person on the back, but he had somebody on the back. Well, as you can see, people started making comments, which then even led to the police department making a comment on the tweets, which at the time, Tom Cassidy was the chief of police. He started making comments on the posts, which then the one on the bottom right, 1011 wanted to do a news story. So they actually came out and did a whole news story on the system that was out, that I was using, which prompted the mayor saw the story. She wasn't happy. She contacted Mr. Cassidy. He's like, "Yeah, I know about it. I'll send somebody over there to talk with him." The goal was to prove that I didn't know what I was doing. The person they sent was, before they did all the computer-based accident scene reconstruction, he was the smart guy that did all that, did all the physics calculations and everything. So he was ready to tear me apart, go through my math, make sure I wasn't doing it right. After an hour of whiteboarding, he sits back and goes, "I would love to see this." Like, "Oh, me too. Let's go." And so we go to my house and he brings another cruiser with him. So we're sitting in my home office watching it live on the screen, and they're on radio back and forth. When a car would go by, they would tell me what the LiDAR system would say, and we would look at what my system would say. I was about a mile an hour off. I chalked that up. I said, "I'm good. I don't need to tweak it anymore. 1 mile an hour, I'll love it. So what can we do?" And he's like, "I'll have some cruisers come by." Like, oh. But what was interesting, oh yeah, here's the system. So the lines, and I just started redoing the project because I like to have fun. The car will hit the line, green line, and then hit the red line, and it'll be able to calculate the speed. So they were sitting right up there. So what I could do with utilizing, there we go, that's what I was looking for. Looking at the data, I could actually say from 7:15 to 7:45 was the bulk of the time people were speeding. And it was on westbound traffic. So instead of just Chicken Little, the sky's falling, they're always speeding, oh my gosh, think of the children. Set up a cruiser so you can see the the 35 cars between this time that were speeding westbound. Tuck in this little part of the street, you'll be hidden, you'll be golden. Conversely, on the way in the afternoon, 3:15 to 4 o'clock was typically the high time, but it was the other way. People picking up their students or going home.
So as if Chicken Little got access to an MIT degree in cybersecurity
Yep.
and created all of this.
So
Then the people are just like, hey, Chicken Little's actually talking snack and he knows what he's talking about.
So when I've been trying to revitalize this, because the company that built the original software went out of business and they had key checking in their software, so I can't load it again. So as we were talking, I'm not a programmer. Anybody wants to help? I would love it. Everything I'm doing now is vibe coding with OpenCV and Python, trying to get the data, and I'm having some issues. This is in kilometers. So minimum speed on this day, 10, which is kind of what I set as the low point anyways. Anything below that, accuracy starts to go away. Average, it's like 28 miles an hour, and the high being about 45 for that day. But, so here again, I can still show we had 709 cars that it was able to definitively say went on our street that day. I can say the times, averages. They actually like to see the 85th percentile. So not even the average, they wanted the 85th percentile, a little higher average, to be able to do the data. So this is where the whole justice thing came in, was being able to show end of the day, human behavior is what made it so this project didn't continue. And I stopped for a while because they would come out, they would do traffic enforcement. Speed would go down for about 2 days. By day 3, it was back to its normal average. There's not enough police out there to constantly be sitting in my neighborhood when it's happening all over the city. So I took down the system for a while. And I was just kind of curious what it was. If it's still, whereas the area I'm in, a little more developed, so it's actually higher numbers than it was before.
But especially if the mayor got involved, like they would try to find some solutions like speed bumps or something, or like.
We did look at speed bumps. It would cost the neighborhood about $10,000 a speed bump.
That stinks.
And then you actually want to go to speed humps instead of speed bumps. No, I called it speed bumps for the longest time. Like, well, if we put speed bumps, the snow plows can't go down. I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay. Like, so we need to do speed humps, and then they're wider, and you need this. There was a whole lot of engineering that I did not anticipate. Then that's actually kind of why I went with the number per day, because based on the number of cars that would travel the road is what they were willing and able to do. I think it was 1,200 cars a day, and more things open up, but we hadn't got there yet.
They should put like in some cities, they have like if you run a red light, it takes a picture and it just automatically sends you a ticket. Like you should almost do something like that.
There was, I think it's still on the books. They had a law that they could not send data to a third party for billing, because they use the cybersecurity and PII as their guide.
Like you said, it's just unfortunate because in Nebraska, there are a lot of speeders.
There is.
O Street's pretty dangerous, so.
Yep. And I mean, then you start just any of the, down 70, down, Nebraska Parkway during, throughout the nights, you can hear the engines revving. But then again, I go back to when I was in high school and I played with muscle cars, and it was fun.
I built an entire Minecraft server out of Python when I was 10 years old. On my first school computer with like a MacBook. It's now the official line collect server.
Nice. Did you set it up to where it's capturing the logs of who broke what blocks and,
Yes, I did.
so
I
that was
even
actually a
set
fun-
up to log who broke the most blocks.
Yep. So we actually did that. I used to run the user group in Nebraska for Splunk, which is data analytics platform. And one of the meetings, we spent the first half playing Minecraft to generate all the data. And after that, we built dashboards off of it to see who killed the most cows, who broke the most blocks, who laid the most blocks.
Who killed the most villagers.
Yeah.
Who slayed the Ender Dragon and who was the fastest at it. I even said to automatically update every hour so that it wouldn't get stale and get infected.
That's the end of talk. Any questions that people haven't asked yet?
You work for Children's Hospital, do you have to work with their Epic system?
So Epic has its own security team, but the validation of access, we work with the teams. So especially when we're building Active Directory accounts, we'll make sure that the Epic system and Active Directory talk together so that we can give them access. And then usually, I think it's quarterly, we look at a Epic report of which nurses access what type of data so that we can be able to see if there's any unauthorized access.
Does it complicate things that they have like their specific security team?
No, they're not in a typical IT security system. They're more of the medical practitioners that have elevated privileges to be able to grant and do access.
Got it, okay.
So that actually falls under the biomedical engineering side. So IT security, we're very broad to where I actually work with a lot of our clinical engineers to know what's going on, like, is there a firmware outdate on a dialysis pump? Is there, is there an imaging machine that for some reason did a network connection to China?
Oh, yeah,
Things like that, or there's like remote robots. It's called Da Vinci, to where a doctor sitting in another state could actually remotely operate a surgical device. Well, we want to make sure nobody's just randomly accessing that and getting in there and moving the arm while they're in a surgery. So we do a lot of work between IT security and biomed to be able to cross between the different teams.
I'm learning a lot about that. I went to Lycor
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of their programmers also have degrees in biology, and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
because they just want to be familiar with all of that.
And,
So.
myself being the architect level, so I sit in IT security, but I'm in weekly meetings with our systems team, with our network team, and then we actually have a project going on with we're building a new behavioral health center. So we have to talk with the contractors and all the other device of how do we secure things and make sure, especially being behavioral health, I can't just have, a wireless router there. Somebody might jump up, grab it, and throw it.
Right.
Things that you don't think about normally in IT. Usually the network engineers throw things, but
Literally one half of my computer screen was a YouTube Python tutorial. Like 14 whole hours worth of Python. And the other side of the screen was Visual Studio Code. With a file named Random Minecraft Server. Like, I did not even know that I would get called up by Mojang to send it to their game to be an official Minecraft server.
Yep.
But I was like, okay. Once I got along with the coding, I was looking for like logs And I found it, and then I just put it all over, like food, pill, reading those slots. How many pets that they got acquired? And the most recent one that it made was how many suits of armor is there on their person?
Does anybody have any other questions, systems or?
I was gonna ask, what did your roadmap look like to get where you're at right now?
I got really lucky in the nineties. There was this Y2K thing happening, and so I got into IT. I took a few classes here while I was waiting. Got an IT, started as desktop support, went to server admin. And from there, I went to systems engineering, back to server admin, back to systems engineering to let's see, systems and network manager. Realized I wasn't management type. Not me. I like to be in the weeds. And I happened, like I said, being in a lot of the discussions with the different security teams. The manager finally just says, "Hey, come over to security," and I jumped at the opportunity. So I've been in IT security since then. I did dabble in. There was a break for a little bit from children's where I did user content management for Cribble, so that I got into more of the vendor space, but then realized, no, I needed to be in the weeds. I am a nerd.
You are a nerd and you need to be a nerd
Yep,
to the highest degree.
love it,
By the way, I did not even get your name.
Tony.
That's the Tony Gregory.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was gonna ask another one.
Sure.
Were you like primarily on site?
Until I went to security, I was on site. So I worked for a company for almost 2 years in Omaha that I did all the driving. It was about 24,000 miles per year on the car with regular schedule and on-call schedule that I'd have to drive up. But since 2019, I've been working from home.
Were you working a lot with like just like one client or any like MSPs, anything like that?
I've always been more large scale systems. So I've been working with state government or large private entities, or in this case, healthcare. So I've had to work with MSPs, but not actually be an MSP.
Okay.
Good. Bye, internet.
When will the next one be?
That would be a question for these three.
When?
We don't have anything scheduled right off the bat, but we've got some feelers out there. So
I'm hoping to come back and talk AI later.
If you do, expect me to be here.
Awesome.
is
Because
that a warning, Gregory, or is that a?
right now, I for fun to learn AI, started building it. And
Because
the AI would be a dungeon master, and we could do a single solo